Oh, I just saw something. I guess we're streaming now. Okay, well, welcome everybody to the September meeting of the Templeton Community Preservation Committee meeting. We've got a great turnout here with, let's see, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 members present. We're still looking to work out the membership from the Housing Authority, and we've had some discussions with them. Oh, not counted you, Carrie, because I know we got everybody but one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's everybody on the committee. So thank you and welcome to joining us. Now, Dennis sent a copy of the minutes from our August meeting. The August meeting was, we featured a guest speaker, Matt Zoller from MPZ, who's been working with the town on the reuse of the Baldwinville Elementary project. So the first order of business is to review and entertain an motion to accept the minutes. I don't have any comments, but I'll give everybody a chance to. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read them.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as they read, as I printed rather.
Okay, we got a motion from George.
Second.
And seconded by Joy to accept the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by waving your hand in your Zoom screen.
Okay, amazing.
I see lots of hands. Any opposed? Speak so, and any abstentions? Unanimous, 8-0. Okay. So the agenda rolls to the town meeting is the next item, and presently I don't know if the fall town meeting has yet been scheduled. Adam, do you have a date for that yet? I know there's a special town meeting about the school this weekend that I only noticed today.
November 4th.
November 4th. And what are the dates for the warrant on that?
I know Carter, I just said to the department heads this morning about getting any articles as soon as possible. The deadline, as soon as you could get them to us.
Yeah.
The faster the better, but it's coming pretty fast, and
Right, these things do sneak up on us and we only have so many minutes, but that's okay because tonight we have a chance to speak with Scott Dill and Bob Zozik from the town. Scott's with the Recreation and Parks or something, and Bob, fixes all the roads. So they're going to give us an update on the progress that they've made for the Gilman Waite restoration project, or the recreation project up there. And we had a lovely meeting the last time we spoke. And Scott, do you want to give us an update of where you're at and if you have any numbers?
Sure. So working with Bob, we've been meeting with contractors up there. There's a lot of moving parts because there's irrigation, the fencing, plumbing, general contractor, electric. So there's a lot of pieces to be done up there. So there's been a lot of meetings up there, and the building inspector and the electrical inspector and the plumbing inspector. So we've gotten some preliminary numbers in, and we're right in the ballpark of where we discussed earlier at our previous meeting. So if I have the power to share a screen, I can share a screen.
Okay, we might have to ask Steve about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can show it back, but can you guys help give Scott the control of the screen, or do I have to do that? Or
I think I got it.
Okay.
All right. So you can see on your screen, this is the updated estimated cost of what each will cost to get there. So irrigation on line 3, 100,000, fencing, 36,000, plumbing, 33,000, general contractor, 47,000, and electrical, 14,000. Brings us to $230,000 for estimated cost of the project. Rec and the school department has $30,000 as we discussed for an offset, which leaves us down to a $200,000 line to get this project done.
Okay. Well, that's great. You got to work on your spelling, but other than that, looks good. So we've discussed this and we had a vote of the committee, just not on an article per se, but specifically on the support. And that's what gave you the impetus to move forward, to come up with this pricing. And so essentially what you're looking to do, as I understand it, are three different things, basically, at the, three different sub-projects, if you will, of the main project. Can you give us just like a general overview of the things you're looking to accomplish?
Yep. Definitely irrigation is its own standalone project, and fencing is its own standalone project. So the other three you could wrap into one project. So you would have irrigation, fencing, and then the general contractor, plumbing and electric, because that would consist of the building itself. So plumbing, general contractor, and electric would be the building. Fencing is outside, irrigation is outside. So those are three separate, pretty much projects wrapped into one CPC funding.
Yeah, and so what we want to do is share with the audience the fact that what we'll be looking to do if the committee approves moving it forward and the selectmen put on the warrant is a large-scale recreation project that would address the irrigation needs, fencing needs, and allow the town to finish out the, the concession stand. And so you've gotten some pricing, and I know you've worked diligently on getting these as real good estimates. We know that we have some money from the rec department and the school, which is great. We also know that these things are contingent upon going out to bid, and final prices aren't set till the time of award. So what we have generally done in a project is try to put in some contingency in there, and that has varied between 10 and 20% of a project cost to ensure that we don't need to go back, because the beauty of it is if we don't spend it, we don't spend it if we don't need it. But if we need it, we have to go back to town meeting and ask for more money.
Right.
So that being said, if we were to consider, a 15% contingency upon a project, that would entail using CPA funds to provide irrigation, fencing, and complete the construction needs necessary to bring the concession stand on board. That would be the $30,000 offset equivalent. So we would ask the town for $230,000, but we would also indicate in the article that the funds would also include a contribution from the recreation and the school department.
Correct.
So what does everybody think about that? So I know it's a big ticket item, but what we're trying to do here is accomplish what the town needs to really wrap up Gilman Way, which is a wonderful asset for the town, and to allow the funds to be made. The budgetary constraints are not there. We have ample funding to do this. If we want to put it forward, we would probably be wise to discuss voting an article tonight for the special town meeting in the fall in November, because that way we can start the process so that come spring, we're ready to rock and roll with all the bids and all the paperwork, and we don't have to wait till the May annual town meeting. But I'll let anybody else want to give an opinion and stuff, and maybe you could take your sharing off so that we can.
Yep, I'll take it off right now.
Anybody wants to speak? Does anybody have an interest in chiming in? I think Joy's wiggling over there.
Well, I just want to quickly, I think that your point about contingency fund is well made. We don't want to have to come back and nickel and dime if things run over. So we want to make sure that that's kind of built in, kind of ask for it all at once.
Thank you, Carrie.
John, if I may, that contingency is probably rather very important today, being with the COVID, because I'm sure, as everybody's aware, materials, even like pressure treated, everything's just skyrocketing. Some materials are hard to get, and only one supplier might have it. So you might run into a problem come next year on some rising in costs and materials and suppliers. So it's definitely a good thing to have.
Thank you, Bob.
I definitely think that we need to move forward with this project. It's been in motion and some work has been done. And if we don't continue to finish it, I mean, what's been done, it's kind of gonna all go to waste. So I think it'd be great if project.
I do.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Okay, would anybody else have some comments?
Julie?
No, I think we're way overdue. We've been on this for a good many years now. And it needs to be done.
I think 2007 was when they broke ground, so.
Okay, Dennis, did you want to add anything?
Well, it's an awful lot of money to spend in one place, but I guess we go and get it done, and hopefully that'll be it.
Okay, thank you. George, did you want to weigh in?
Can we
No,
actually,
I think it sounds good to me. I think everything's going to go along, and hopefully you can get it done in the spring.
can we actually call the contingency, the COVID-19 contingency, just so that people are aware that, you know, that is really raising the prices, and that way you could have something that would go back to the town if in fact we overestimated.
Well, and we've had to do that before. The best laid plans, even when we try to put that contingency on, you are at the, you know, the vagaries of the marketplace. You got to go out to bid, and we've had to go back for one of Alan's projects on the cemetery. And then that's just the nature of the beast. So we're trying to avoid that. You know, we would say that, you know, these are the estimated costs. And when the town meeting article would give, you know, it would lay out the specifics of what we're trying to do. And we would ask for a total sum of $230,000 from CPA, with the expectation that $30,000 would also be contributed by the recreation and school departments. So we can talk about it when we present it at the town meeting, that we want to be sure. We cannot change the number on the floor. That's the thing. Whatever we decide is what it is. So even if that is low, I mean, you guys got bids now, you know, 15% is a pretty significant percentage, but that, who knows? Right, it is COVID time. We don't know. Brad, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, so we've had some discussion about seeking $230,000 from the community preservation funds, which would be sourced from whatever the balance is in the recreation account, plus whatever we might need in excess of that from the general reserve, which is the lion's share of the money. And so in order for us to move forward, now if we can change that number now. Mike, did you want to have a voice, say something about it? Sorry, I didn't mean to forget you.
I'm going to abstain at this point. Keep in mind that I've not been sworn in by the selectmen yet. So I like to watch and we'll see what's going on, but I want to wait till I'm sworn in before I can do anything.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. We always want to follow the rules. That's important. So any other discussion on this?
So we're talking about like 230,000
Yes.
as the figure with the 15%. Okay,
Yeah.
do you want a motion?
Yeah.
All right,
So
I'll make a
Right.
motion that we submit a warrant article for the amount of $230,000 to complete the work that needs to be done at Gilman Way.
I think you meant 230, right?
You did say,
Sorry, John,
230,000?
230,000, yes.
Okay, I might have misheard you. I just wanted to be clear on that.
I heard him okay.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
I'll second.
I beat you,
Okay.
George.
Okay, so the motion
That's
on the
good.
floor is an article for $230,000 to come from the recreation reserve account in the general budgeted reserve in order to do the completion of the project at Gilman Way, which includes irrigation, fencing, and completion of the concession stand, with an additional $30,000 of the project available from the recreation and school budgets. Is that right?
Right.
It's been made and seconded. Any discussion on that? And of course, it'll all have to go through the lawyers and make sure it's all hunky-dory, but, okay, so the motion is made and seconded. So I'll just go around my little screen and ask to a vote, and I'll start right there with Brad.
Yes.
Yes. Carrie,
Yes,
George,
Yes.
Mike, you're abstaining. Joy,
Yes,
Joanne,
Yes,
Dennis,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. So that's unanimous. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I know you've done a lot of work on putting this together, and there's a lot more work to do, but at least we can get it to the point where the selectmen can decide to put it on the warrant, and hopefully we can vote it in this fall.
Thank you.
John, thank you, and your committee. If it wasn't for you guys, it's nice to see this project that's been sitting for years to be completely done, and it's gonna be usable, and it's gonna be a long time, games up there and good times, and you guys should be proud of what you do.
Thank you, Bob. It's the voters that enabled the CPA to pass that we can thank, and they will also need to thank them at the town meeting if they so choose to push it forward. But of all the things we hear and say, you know, recreation and doing good things for the next generations is never really controversial. So it's kind of good to be working on something that people like. Okay, thank you. So I guess the next item we would probably want to discuss. So there were a couple of different issues that the town has presented. We had a talk from, Matt recently and about the Baldwin Elementary project. And there's also been some discussion about, Bob, you mentioned something about the tree survey. And Adam, I know there's something else related to Stone Bridge. So maybe Bob, since you're here, there had been discussion, and George, this is important for you. I don't know, so there's been discussion of doing a tree survey, which is required for the open space plan. And Bob has some pricing, which is something that we could pay for out of the conservation fund if it was so desired by the Conservation Commission and for this board. Can you give us a little summary of that, Bob and George?
Yeah. Well, yes, we're looking to do in a tree survey. The first part of the survey to get things rolling would be checking for open spaces where we can plant some more shaded trees, which we have a lot of planting we could do. Hazardous trees that need to be taken down immediately, which is a lot of them all throughout town. And this called the Windshield Survey, which is going to be going up and down every single road, sometimes getting out, measuring a tree, taking notes and putting on a spreadsheet. And I can also lock it into a GPS on location. And the person I had in mind to do this, which is an intern that's been working with the town in the town hall, she's phenomenal. But unfortunately, she's going to be going out of state and going to be leaving us. It's too bad. Was a great student. But I also, prior to her, I do have messages out to some surrounding colleges to fill that spot and continue on with doing a windshield survey. So that money, it's not an emergency that I need it real soon, but we will bring in another intern in and looking to do the same thing as we discussed earlier.
Okay, so George, since you're a rep from conservation and you know how important it is to have that open space plan done, and I think that's one of the things we need to wrap up. Have you guys spoken about the need to do a tree survey?
Only what I've seen. No, we have not done it ourselves because it came to us between our meetings. Our next meeting is the third Monday of the month. Okay, and if Open Space would like to come and bring that in front of us, we will do something about it.
Okay. Great.
Right.
So Carrie, so the way we kind of voted that conservation fund, which was CPA
Right.
funded, but it starts with the Concom. And so we could have a discussion about, you know, it's obviously not an emergency, but it's a process. So Terry, are you available to, is it a Zoom meeting? George?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And Bob, do you have like an estimated price?
Well, I was looking, well, I compared time to pricing on wage. We're probably looking anywhere like 12 to 13, 14 at the most dollars per hour. And it's looking like it's going to be 3 to 4 months time frame. So that would put us right in around $8,000.
Okay, so the balance of that fund, as I recall, is right about $8,000. So the question, because we spent $7,000 on the plan itself. So we'll have to have a discussion on that. And if that's the use that, you know, conservation and open space wish to use it for, it's allowed by the article. It's because it was voted by the townspeople to put in the fund. And if there's other priorities that need to be addressed, then we'd have to defer to that. But yeah, so maybe, George, we can look at your next meeting and joining you.
That'll be fine.
Does that work
Okay.
for you, Carrie?
Yeah, that's going to be what, the 21st, is it?
Yes,
Okay,
okay.
okay,
That way there, you know, we can discuss it and then we can vote on it then.
okay.
All right?
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Adam, can you give us, I know you're here, I know Carter had mentioned maybe coming on, and I'm assuming that you drew the short stick as always and had to join us, but can you share anything that you'd like to on requests and updates, please?
Okay, I have 3 things to update the board on. One being Stone Bridge, I'll start with. That's the one we'll just get into right now, and then I'll go through the other 2. One of them obviously being the Baldwinville School and the cupola for the town hall as well. So right now, we put in for the culvert replacement municipal assistance grant for the Stone Bridge project. Right now, I just talked with Malone McBroom, who's been working on this project with us, and they will be filing their NOI for what they believe to be the October meeting of the Conservation Commission. Right now, we don't know, we don't have final word whether or not we received the culvert replacement grant. We have received an invitation for a culvert replacement announcement event. So with that, we just need to have we could need to have a meeting depending on whether we need to have a matching fund, whatever comes down. So this project is going to be, we have to watch closely, because after that, then there's from the NOI to the watershed determination of applicability that needs to be filed with DCR. There's a lot of other, a longer process from the NOI all the way to this point. Obviously, funding is the most critical component of that project. So we'll see what happens once we hear where we're at, get final word. We will be sure to let the CPC folks know. I believe we may need to have another meeting before the fall town meeting, perhaps early October. I don't know what time, when it will be, but that's where we're at with the Stone Bridge project.
Okay, so what funding do you have available right now from the town?
Well, right now we're looking at the funding that we received so far was CPC, and what the money that the CPC folks gave towards the project. That covered the study, if I remember correctly. And right now we're waiting to see what happens with this grant, and we'll see where we're at and how much, because this grant could go up to $200,000. So I don't know if we even get it, if we even will get it, or where we're going to go from there. I can't answer that question.
I wasn't sure if there was any remaining funds from what had already gotten from I know you spent
There is some remaining. Well, we had to use, remember that $1,000? I had to get permission from the CPC, your committee. But outside of that account, I think we would have to come to CPC
Okay, so
or
there's still some
free
funds
cash. I
there.
mean, I can't make that determination right now because I would still have to have some more information.
Okay, yeah, and we know it's a process and you got to meet all the standards so it can start adding up. Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question on that?
Yep.
The grant you're applying for is, the purpose of that is to do what?
The culvert replacement grant, right, I have right here. It's for funding. So typical project phases include planning and field data collection, engineering, design, permitting, and construction. So the Stone Bridge does qualify for this. You could put in the grant for any portion of wherever you're at. And right here, I'm looking at all the information on this. So we'll see what happens with that.
Were we talking about replacement of the bridge or what we had originally determined to do with the site?
I mean, as
Yeah,
far as
I'm sorry. So as you recall, we went through the whole process of evaluating the cost for like rebuilding it to code, and then putting a boat launch and then or putting a short bridge over it.
Right,
And
that's what we
clearly
had
the
originally.
cost prohibitive nature of rebuilding the road was too much.
Right, okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. And
yeah, I
so
mean,
it is a culvert.
no, I was just going to say it seemed like it was such a long time ago from when the board voted on it. So we'll see where we're at. I know there was other things like having a recreational area there as well. So
Right.
We'll see where that goes, and we'll just have to wait and hear if we get awarded the grant on that end. Moving, any other questions on that update or?
I guess not.
No. Okay. Now moving to the town hall cupola.
Cupola?
Cupola. I always get it wrong. So basically, I have a report here from November of 2019 for a project cost of $80,500. We have since looked at the cost to remove it and to weave in the new shingles, and we're looking at $15,000 plus or minus to do that. Concerns we have with removing it is the shingles more likely will not match. They won't look the same. And then you're taking out, removing the architectural feature of the building. That's the downside of it. You gave us the initial funds on the project, and that's where we're at. We have that estimate back in November of 2019 for $80,500 back then, and now we're at $15,000. The estimate we received from our architect that looked at that. So that's where we're at on that front.
Yeah, so as everybody recalls, we had a lot of discussion about replacing the cupola, and then the cost came in at such a big number, $80,000, and there was a lot of concern of the cost of that. Now, the reason that we were able to spend TPA money on the town hall from the get-go is that the Historical Commission did indicate that the school building was important to the historic nature of the town through its cultural activities. Not that it's a historic structure. Mike, you probably remember that. And so removing the cupola, I mean, we've already kind of changed the layout because we also added the vault, which fit in nicely and looks good. You couldn't tell that, it's a brick structure and it was made to match. So
I remember talking about it at the Historical Commission meetings, and that's the only architectural point of interest on the entire building, really. And it's been there since it was built. I think that was 1919 it was built. that is not a historic district there. And many of the buildings probably could meet the requirements of being individual structures. The school's not one of them. And I think that was the correct wording you used, John. It's really not a lot of historical significance there other than the cultural impact on the town. And I personally, did we get more than one quote for that work? I mean, that seems awful high for that work.
Absolutely.
What we did is we went to our architect, who's usually pretty much right on with any of the estimates that he's given us. So right now we just went to our architect that has done work for the town on quite a few projects. Whether you look at the Templeton Fire Station roof, I worked on the library roof replacement specifications, and the estimates have been on. I don't think, I mean, if you look at $15,000 plus or minus, you have to weave in new shingles, you have to get rid of the thing, take it off the building. You know, any kind of construction projects, I'll tell you, I do procurement obviously for the town, and construction procurement, you know, you got to tie in prevailing wage rates. It gets expensive.
The question is about the $80,000 rebuild pricing.
Oh, you're talking about the 80,500?
80,000, yes, that seemed very high.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was done by our architect way back. I think that cost would be even higher now, to be honest with you.
Do you know what that included? Is it carpentry involved? And I know there's a copper top on it. Are they talking about replacing the copper top? I don't know. It just seems very high.
I have here a breakdown. Construction would be $40,000, staging $10,000. So the subtotal 1 and 2 would be $50,000. You're talking 15% design contingency, $7,500. A 20% construction contingency at that time, $10,000. So subtotal between 3 and 4, $22,500. Then the CPA application fee, the CPA, that application fee, 1,000, architect's fee, 8,000 between those two. And then, yeah, 80,500.
Yeah, I think as I recall now that you mentioned it, the staging was a huge price, you know, 40 grand for staging. And of course you have to rent it or whatever. And I'm wondering, because it's not necessary to the function of the building now because of the ventilation or whatever it was that was there for originally. I mean, is there any value, Mike, in looking at whether it could be extracted and salvaged for a display?
Yeah, I mean, you could always do that. You could bring it down and salvage it. And the Historical Society may want it for the garden. You know, I was thinking when they were initially talking about Templeton Elementary School, and at that point, East Templeton was closed, that could be salvaged and used potentially in building the new school. But the second thought, that wasn't realistic. I'd hate to see it go, but at $80,000, it'd be a hard sell.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could reach out to the Mass Historical and see if they have funding that we could use to salvage, to maintain that architectural detail. We could reach out to them.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll want to do that because of the nature of the construction that we did in rehabilitating the building.
Yeah.
It might be because we had the woman come out and, you know, evaluate it from the get-go when we first started talking way back when it was just an empty school. And then we moved to the rehabilitation component of CPA monies versus the restoration or the, you know, the high price of making it like it was in 1919 for historic value.
All right. Well,
so is that at jeopardy of falling off, or what's the structural risk, or what's the priority on this?
Well, the condition, everything. I'm sorry.
Okay, Bob, you want to jump in on that?
The cupola is in disarray. It's deteriorating. They got a lot of rot. And it's a matter of, do we want to fix it and keep the aesthetics of that building, or do what you're talking about, removing and framing and capping it off? That price of $80,500 also included structural improvements inside the attic as well. For surety, and it's the architect, and we actually had a structural engineer come out and take a look up in the attic, and he had some suggestions on how to improve it structurally to help hold that up.
May I say something?
Sure.
I'd like to see it left in place, and $80,000 really for such a big project isn't really that much. But East Templeton doesn't have it very much beauty, and you're going to take away from us. And we've lost too many things in East Templeton. I love the cupola.
Have
I
we,
mean,
have we approached any local contractors who might not be busy now to see if they could do something to help us with this?
well, like I say, Dennis, you get into procurement. Yeah, if we weren't town government, municipality, and all that, you could probably cut that price in half. But like Adam was explaining, it's got to go out to bid. You got to pay the wages. Your hands are tied. You don't want to try to do it incorrectly and be penalized later and cause a lot of problems. I know what both sides are saying. Like Joy said, I mean, that's your town hall. That's your capital of Templeton. And East Templeton doesn't have that much. I mean, it's up to the voters and whatnot, but I would like to see it stay. And if we don't do something with it, what's going to happen is where the rot and stuff is, it's going to start getting into the roof line, and then we're going to start having leaks inside the town hall. So either way, something's got to be done, because it's going to end up causing interior damage if we don't do one or the other.
In regards to the $10,000 for staging, it seems to me that staging would be part of the equipment that the contractor would have and that we wouldn't have to purchase.
Well, we wouldn't, yeah, no, that's the rental kind of cost. I mean, that's the
Is
some
that just
cost that they
rental?
would have to set it up. We wouldn't own that staging.
Oh my God.
I'm just curious. I know that Bill Harris has done a lot of work for the town. Has he been approached on possibly giving us an estimate? Is that even possible?
You have to go to,
We
you
can
know, a
just
lot of
jump into it.
contractors don't like to go work for towns because of the bonding requirements and all this other paperwork that's required, including prevailing wages. You know, Bill's done a lot of great work, certainly at the historical, where it was they're a third party, so they're not the town. So they can just contract separately and they're a pass-through. So, but I don't know.
You mind me jumping in?
Yep.
I just gonna say, we try to stay with our architect, because the minute you start going out to different contractors and asking for different prices, you run into a whole area of the procurement process. It has to be followed. You have to stay fair and impartial at all regards. And if you go out and you're getting into an area where it's not recommended to do. This way, when we go out and whether it's the $80,000, there's still a process we have to follow with bids and coming in and then opening them, and whoever the lowest bidder is, unless they're not responsive or responsible, gets the apparent lowest bidder, and then it goes to the select board to decide.
Yeah,
So
so
Chairman, I
whatever
have some,
number we come up with, it would still go out to bid, and somebody locally could bid on it as long as they met the specs. But, you know, setting the specs is so important because of that.
And that's why we like sticking with our architect to make sure we have the specs exactly for a quality product that people in the town can be proud of. And having the right specifications and procurement is critical, especially in construction procurement. You really want to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's, because you do one thing wrong, it could mess it up pretty significantly.
Okay, let's just move forward to your third topic and we can come back to that
Mr.
one.
Chairman, I have some comments.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I have some comments online that we could read off.
Okay. Thank
Michael
you.
Curry said that I like the cupola. I agree with Joanne or Joy, whoever was speaking. He couldn't decipher at the time. And I have Liz Toth. I agree with Mike. The cupola should stay.
Okay.
Those are
Thank
our
you.
public comments.
Yep. So that's good to hear from others.
Chairman. Mike. I'll bring it to the Historical Commission and we'll review it there and we'll give you a letter either way, whether we're supportive of it or if I can, I'll have to get with Mr. Brooks and get a meeting called together. If we can start building public consensus one way or the other, you know. Is this an immediate need? Can we wait till the Springtown meeting to bring this forward? Or is it something that has to happen on an emergency basis?
I'll defer to Bob on that. Is Bob still
Hey
on the
guys,
line?
yeah, it's in rough shape. I mean, it depends on the kind of what do we have. I can't promise you we won't have any leaks come till spring. It's been slowly deteriorating over many years. Nothing's leaking yet. But it all depends on how much ice we get and what kind of storms we get. We can take the chance and wait till spring. I mean, I would like to, if it's all possible, if we could make a decision for the fall town meeting. It's probably going to be closer to spring anyway. It's just such a time lapse between getting everything approved and getting things out to bid. It probably won't be till the beginning of the summer before the work's performed. But if we wait till the spring meeting, now we're going to be back into next winter. And it's like the library, a perfect example. We've been working on that for over a year. I was hoping to get it done in spring, and here we are coming into fall and hoping to get it on before the bad weather comes.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we know, you know, if we were doing it on our own house, we would never pay 80 grand for anything probably. But, you know, that's the nature of construction and historic preservation. So I guess it would be great to hear from the Historical Commission as to their perspective. We've heard from some citizens, you know, there's a mix on this board. I don't think anybody is anti-cupola. We're just anti-spending money, but we do have the funds available. So if we do it now and we decide we want to keep it for perpetuity, now's the time to do it. And you know, once the money is spent and in place, then you don't worry about that. You just worry about, you know, looking at a historic structure. So can we, Adam, I guess if we have an October meeting, maybe we could put a placeholder in and the special town meeting for the fall. We'll wait to hear back and we'll discuss it at our next meeting, and maybe Mike will have something to share, and other people, if you hear other consensus. Does that sound reasonable?
I guess.
I would say that's a good idea.
Okay, so we'll revisit this in October, and we can call an earlier meeting if we have to. I don't know.
Chairman?
Yeah.
There's one other thing I would volunteer for. Facebook has a system where you can do polling. I was wondering if it might not, if you wanted to see what the public sentiment would be, to do a Facebook poll. We could include, I'm in 3 or 4 different groups around town. We could poll those groups and see what kind of support or lack of support we have for the spending of that money.
Well, it's always good to get more information. I don't know anything about it, and I don't know if there's any kind of restrictions on as a public board what you can do or not, but as a citizen, you can do whatever you please.
Okay.
So I think it would be helpful to get some more insight. So fortunately, the second Thursday of October is the 8th. So it's the earliest date we could have a meeting in October. Adam, do you think that could, an article, or do you want to check with Carter?
I would say early October. That seems appropriate. Yeah, that seems like it could work.
Does anybody else have something or any other comments, Scott?
Nope, everything's clear right now.
Okay,
Would
so
you
that's what we'll do then. We'll wait till October and we'll bring it up again.
Yeah, just because the Stone Bridge, we could do another update for that, and then that.
Right, you might have the results of that as well. And we'll call an earlier meeting if we need to for the, turnaround time, if that's the case.
And that way you'll have more information too on the funding and where we're at and whether we get the grant or not, and that'll be appropriate. Would you mind if I move to the
Please do.
Baldwinville School? This is the last one I wanted to give an update. I believe you received and the pictures I sent over of some issues that we've had with it being vacant. The select board did vote at their meeting last night on the final developer designation agreement. When we get all the necessary signatures from all parties, MPZ Development and the select board, I will copy that and send that along to you and the CPC folks. And I mean, as I mentioned before, we're looking at a $20 million plus or minus investment here, and there's a little over $1.1 million that MPZ Development's looking for a commitment. So with that, I just want to let you know, once we get that information, the signature's done, I will send that your way.
Okay, yes, and so, and we've had a nice discussion with Matthew, and thank you for also sharing that the town is incurring costs related to it being vacant, and in the discussion I had with Matthew, he indicated that, now is the time because it has not been vacant for long compared to some of the other structures that they've had to do. I know we had discussion of the scope of the project being so large, for a village of Baldwinville, the number of units, 50 units total. And if there would be any way that they could make it work with like half the scope of the new construction, which is 34 units as opposed to 16 in the existing structure. But given he explained the cost, the grants, and all of the, tax credits that are required to offset costs to make it work, that it really needs to be of that scope. He was going to look around. There's a nearby parcel that perhaps, that vacant house where it burned down on Cottage Street there, or any other options. I don't know if he's looking at anything, but he did indicate that it seemed like that could be a May town meeting thing because of the fact that if we were to try to push something through between now and November for $1 million, it doesn't seem like it's feasible that people are going to really be embracing that without getting a good, public outreach so that they can understand there is value in the town recovering, selling the property, number one, but also the incremental tax included, and then the availability of more affordable housing. There was discussion about the gymnasium there, which would be reduced in size because of the construction in the new units. But if there could be some public access to recreation indoors within the village, that might be something that the people of Baldwinville would be looking for. And so there's a lot of questions, and I think a lot of room for discussion. So we do need to keep that rolling. But, it seems to me a challenge to expect to vote something like that large in November.
No, I agree, and we're looking forward to working with the CPC and giving more time. There's a lot of information, and that would be appropriate to do it at the annual town meeting.
I think at one point during the course of discussions, was there not something talked about possibly having a public meeting, informational meeting for the public? to attend and maybe ask questions. I don't know
We-
if any
Yeah.
arrangements for that have been made.
Where do we stand with being able to have a public meeting? Was that brought up or, I mean, in person?
Well, we're looking at probably, I mean, depends on everything with the COVID, where we're at moving forward. But for the most part, like we did for our cannabis community outreach hearings, putting the information out there and having people participate, I received correspondences I was able to, and then people participated like they do at our meetings. Even here tonight, they'll bring questions or put up anything on the live feed. So we could still have that public input, and I think it's critical. I know Mr. Zoller is looking at having a neighborhood discussion to share his plan with the community again, and we will continue to do not only map, but I believe the town, to make sure all the information is out there so people can make an informed decision and with all the necessary information.
Yeah, that's going to be critical. And I know the early indications are that there hadn't been any major, up in arms, but, and so, and then there is questions, I know, like in the depiction there, like the egress on the side and the house that's there really is, doesn't even have frontage per se. And then you're putting this big development in there. So a lot of questions, but I think they're worth having. And, we could get a nice, rehabilitation of something that they're going to have to spend money to tear down if we don't come up with something. So
Right.
I was impressed by Mr. Zoller and his approach and his desire to do good things, not just to, bottom line dollar profit. So.
Mr. Chairman, I have some comments
Yes,
online.
sir.
Terry Griffiths chimed in. Great job, everyone. Very interesting and informative. Michael Curry chimed in. The plans of MPZ are great with the school. It is large because of the new building in the back.
Thank you very much.
No
We
problem.
have dedicated select people.
They're hard workers.
Great. So anything else, Adam?
That's all I have for the CPC, and look forward to continue working with you. And I'll see you October 8th or around that
Yep.
time period.
October 8th will be our next formally scheduled meeting at 6:30. We'll still be Zooming it, I guess, and Mr. Castle and his wonderful crew will help us out, no doubt. Anybody have any other new business, old business that they'd like to bring forward? Okay, hearing none. Well, I want to thank you all. We made some great progress. We're going to move forward to bring the Gilman Way project to the select board for the fall town meeting. And we're going to discuss the cupola at our October meeting, and we'll keep our ears open regarding Stonebridge and also the Bolivar Elementary project going forward. So thank you, everybody. And I guess with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll
I
make
so
the motion.
move.
So moved by Joy. I think I saw Dennis's lips moving. saying
Oh, yeah.
all those in
I'll
favor?
second that then.
Aye. Brad, you waving? Yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you around town, or we'll see you in a month.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen.